2:25 p.m.
I think you stated that the Athens County Police Crime Scene Special Jeff Harrell and Al Rapper were present on the scene, sir?
They were, that's correct.
Was Special Agent Jim Fuller also present on the scene, sir?
Yes.
Okay. What was his role? Excuse me. Yes.
I am, yeah.
Okay, no, sir, let me see if I can get this, trust.
Hello?
You shouldn't have to talk in front of us. It's not on. That's just under you.
Right now it is.
See how you, it's after again. It's,
Oh, John.
just a minute. Try now. I'll just ask you to speak up
I come on.
wherever you can.
I just try to speak up for you.
I'm not sure that's ever been on.
Yeah, it came on the first day. I was doing like this. Is it possible to cut the fan off? I think they fixed that AC.
Well, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
All right, we'll try that. If that becomes uncomfortable, let me know that. We're starting to get some air conditioning. I've been told 20%. Should be 50% by the end of the day. I don't know what that means exactly, but that's what they're telling me.
I just started over for you, ma'am. Can you hear me now? Okay. Ms. Rose, again, sir, how did you get involved in this case on March 2nd, 2011?
I was located at lunch with Agent Hillsman and other agents, I believe, from the Region 11 office, GBI office in Athens, Georgia. And I believe it was Agent Hillsman received a phone call from Special Agent in Charge Jim Fullington. And he advised of the request from the Athens Clark County Police Department.
Okay. Was Athens Clark County Police Department crime scene specialist Jeff Harrell and Al Rapper on the scene when you arrived, sir?
Yes, they were.
How about Jim Fullerton? Was he also there on the scene, sir?
Yes, he was.
What was Mr. Fullerton's role on the scene? Why was he there?
He was the agent in charge of our office, and he responded to the scene as well.
How long were they on the scene, the Athens Clark County crime scene specialist? How long they was on the scene before you arrived, sir?
I have no idea.
Did they take the crime scene off pertaining to Officer Howard patrol car and Officer Christian patrol car?
Yes, when I arrived, yellow crime scene tape was in place. I'm not sure exactly who put it up, but it was in place when I arrived.
Okay. Did anybody take any photographs before you arrived?
I was advised that Detective Al Radford photographed the scene prior to my arrival.
Okay. Did anybody else other than Mr. Radford take photographs that you know of?
I do not know the answer.
Okay. Did he take any pictures of Officer Tony Howard wounds? Did he take any pictures?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay. Do you know if anybody took any pictures of Officer Tony Howard wounds on March 22nd, 2011?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay. How many, you took some pictures of Officer Christian, is that correct, sir?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Did anybody else take any pictures of Officer Christian?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay. Why would somebody take pictures of Officer Christian but fail to take pictures of Officer Tony Howard? Could you tell us that?
I was at the time, yes, sir.
Now, is it your duty to, I'm like something, did you thoroughly investigate this case?
The case,
Yeah, did you thoroughly investigate the role, like you were crime scene special, right?
yes,
Did you thoroughly investigate the crime scene on March 22nd, 2011?
yes, and then it continued in the days to follow.
How many days, when you say you continue the days to follow, how many days to follow did you continue to investigate, sir?
But the following day, I processed, along with Agent Foster, the two police officers' vehicles as well as the red Suburban, and then photographed Officer Howard's belongings, I believe, at some other point. I do not recall exactly what day that was.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Is it on?
Give me just a moment, let's see.
Oh, I see it on yours, Judge.
I'm,
It's on his screen, but they don't get, I can see my hand.
if you switched it over, well, it should be.
Yeah, I see my hand on your screen, I'm waving it, I see it on your computer.
It should be coming up. I don't know if it has been. Did you switch it over?
Yeah, I'm switching it, I'm doing what I usually do, but, maybe my computer ain't on, maybe that might be a problem. But I can see it on yours, I don't know why it ain't on the rest of them.
Is your computer on?
Yeah, I did turn it on, sir.
I think it has to be routed.
Okay. Computer won't show up.
Computer showed up. Let's see what.
I can see it on yours, but it ain't on hers. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Ms. Rod, I would like to look at State Exhibit 187. Did you investigate Sycamore Drive to see if the apartments or the telephone pole lights had a camera there?
I took that photograph.
Yeah.
I did not notice any surveillance cameras on the telephone poles.
Okay. Did you even bother to look to see if the cameras on Sycamore Drive, and maybe a camera could have caught what actually happened?
I photographed the scene and looked around the scene. I did not notice any cameras.
But did you personally look for them during your investigation?
Specifically for cameras, I was looking for any kind of evidence whatsoever that I could find at the scene. I did not look at any cameras.
I'd like you to look at State Exhibit 188. Can I see the little red label, please? Here. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Rose, you see these apartments right here?
Yes, sir.
Did you go investigate the apartments over here to see if they had a camera on them, anything that maybe might have saw this police shooting incident? Did you do that?
I did not know, sir.
Why not?
Because that was not pertinent to the crime scene. When I was looking at the evidence there, I looked around. I did not see any surveillance cameras there at the scene or at any of the apartment complexes. I did not see them.
Would you agree if a camera had saw that police shooting incident, it would have been helpful evidence in the case?
population, I would object.
Again, Mr. Rose, do you agree? If a camera had saw this actual police shoot incident, it would have been helpful in this case.
Could have been.
I'd like for you to look at State Exhibit 191, please, sir. Mr. Rose, you see these apartments right here, Cascade Apartment?
Yes, sir.
Did you go look at them buildings and see if they had a camera or something on there?
That's how I walked all the way down that parking lot. I photographed different areas of the parking lot on the way down, then on the way back, and I did not notice any surveillance cameras.
You see Officer Christian Carr right there, is that Officer Christian Carr with that red thing?
Yes.
Okay, now, how many yards that car was away from Officer Howard's car, sir?
I did not know the measurements were taken as part of the Leica scan that scanned and imaged the scene, and from that scan, you'd be able to take the measurements.
What I want to know is, what I want to know is, as a crime scene specialist, did you personally measure to see how far that car was since you was part of the crime scene? Did you personally measure to see how far distant that was between them two cars, sir?
Personally, I did not, and the reason is that's why we had the Leica scanner. That's what that piece of equipment is for. It scans and images the scene as it is there, and then you can go into the actual system, Leica system, and take measurements of whatever you want to take measurements of. If we did not use that system, if the Leica scanner was not done, I would have taken measurements. But as a result of the Leica scanner being used, that was in lieu of a sketch or measurements taken by myself at the scene.
Okay, did y'all in fact use that back scanner, sir?
Yes.
What was the distance that scanner said them two cars from each other?
I don't have that information. That's going to be in the person that testifies on that actually did the scan.
Okay, I thought you said you were the crime scene specialist in this case.
That was.
Okay, you didn't talk to the guy who answered that? You don't feel like that's important evidence, sir?
I believe when the person that actually took the scan comes up to testify, he'll be able to give you whatever measurements you may like.
Did you personally want that information so you can have a clear understanding of what really happened, sir?
I was there. I have a clear understanding of what was.
Oh, you say you got a clear understanding, but tell us how many yards that car was apart. You got a clear understanding.
I have a clear understanding. I can't tell you exactly how many yards or feet the cars were from each other without seeing the measurement on the Leica scan.
Okay, fair enough, sir. I'd like you to look at State Exhibit 193, please, sir. You say you investigated the scene, that's correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long you been in law enforcement, sir?
Be coming up on 18 years, sir.
Coming up on 18 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you familiar with the high-risk traffic stop? High-risk traffic stop protocol, are you familiar with that, sir?
Every department has a different one, in my opinion. I don't know the policy for Athens, Clark County.
Did you take time to investigate it, to see what the policy was, see if everything was done right? Did you do that?
I was asked to conduct a crime scene investigation pertaining to the two officers getting shot, not in reference to their policy or procedure for felony stops.
But you didn't investigate the issue.
No, I did not.
I'd like you to look at State Exhibit 196, please, sir. And this is going on down the road here. See this light pole, would you consider that some type of light pole, telegraph pole, anything?
Yes, sir.
Did you or anybody else walk there to check this pole to see if there was a camera or something on there?
Sure, I looked at it, and it's also included in the scans. It's included in the photograph. I did not notice any video cameras or surveillance cameras on any of the poles or apartments.
Now, sir,
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, these are your photographs.
Yes, sir.
Right there, that red laser light right there. Isn't that a camera?
Yes, it is.
Why you didn't talk to the jury about that camera in that car?
I was not asked to talk to the jury about the camera.
Okay. Did you investigate that camera in any type of way, sir?
I don't understand. Did I investigate the camera?
Yes, sir. You said you was a crime scene specialist. You were telling the jury about the police vest and trajectory, but I know that you didn't say that about that camera. Why is that, sir?
I was not asked about the camera, sir.
Okay, you don't think that camera would have been important evidence in this case, sir?
If it was on, if it captured anything, it could be.
I need to put you on one second, sir. Look at something. Have you been able to locate the missing videotape off the Howard patrol car?
I was not asked to.
You there? Could you describe the steps that you took to locate that video to see if it had the videotape in the car, sir?
I was not asked to.
Okay. You weren't asked to take no pictures of that car either, was you?
Sure, that's part of processing the scene to photograph it as it was when I arrived.
Okay. But I see a camera in this car. You took pictures of that part of your process, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, if that part of your process, and why you didn't take steps to find that camera and find that tape?
I
Now,
believe,
that's a misleading question because it implies that there was a recording. And I would object to it.
I'll sustain the objection.
I made some. Did you review the Athens Clark County Police protocols according to the uses of that audio and video camera in our car?
no, I did not.
Why you didn't?
I was not asked to.
I thought you said you thoroughly investigated this case, sir.
I did, and how an officer uses his camera and the protocol for their department on the use of their cameras do not apply to officers being shot at the time, not as far as the crime scene.
Will you agree that the audio and videotape of that car would have been helpful evidence in this case? Will you agree with that, sir?
I would agree with that if there was pertinent information, if there was evidence pertaining to this case on that video. Sure.
Okay, but we 100% got evidence. There's a camera right there in the car. That's 100% evidence from your picture. Is that correct? Right here.
Yes, sir. That's a camera inside that vehicle. Yes.
You took several pictures of that car too. Is that right, sir?
Yes, that's correct.
I'd like you to look at State Exhibit 214. This is a front view of that camera you took too. That's your picture, right?
Yes, it is.
You agree that's a camera picture you took? Right here.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like you to look at State Exhibit 215, sir. Another picture that you took. When you agree in your photograph, you got a camera right there in that car.
Yes.
Plain sight, right?
Yes.
I'd like for you to look at State Exhibit 359, sir. That's a close-up view of that Motorola audio and video camera right there, sir.
Yes.
That in plain sight too, then.
Yes.
Did you see that camera when you took that picture?
Yes.
Why didn't you investigate that camera, see if that tape that?
I did not have access. Different cameras are different for different police departments. I did not have access to getting any of the information from the camera. If I'm not mistaken, somebody from the Athens Clark County Police Department would have attempted to obtain that information.
Did you talk to anybody about retrieving that information? Did you ask for any information to help you look at that camera to see if something's on it? Did you ask for help?
I believe it was done. I don't know that I particularly asked for it if somebody else asked for it.
How do you don't know what you done, sir?
did not retrieve any information from that camera. I believe somebody else did.
Well, who did?
I do not know. It was not me, so I didn't document that.
But you documented that vest and everything else, didn't you?
That's what I collected, yes.
Okay. You say y'all towed the car to a different spot, is that correct, to process them, sir? Our car?
It was towed, yes.
Okay. Now, when you, is this exhibit, state exhibit 482, sir? Is this a clear picture of Officer Howard car after y'all towed it and processed it and all that, sir?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And when you agree that camera right there sitting in plain view, the next day y'all towed it, right? This
Yes.
The next day you came out? So you went out there on that car 2 days in a row and see a camera there and didn't get no information, try to retrieve that tape, that you telling the jury?
Somebody, I believe somebody from the Athens Clark County Police Department attempted to obtain that information. I was told that it was done. I don't know exactly who did that. I did not. I was told that it was done by somebody from the police department.
But it was done, right? Somebody told you it was done, right?
Yes,
But you don't know who told you.
that's correct.
I thought you said you thoroughly investigated the case.
I did.
Well, sir, if you thoroughly investigated, how you don't know who told you what?
That's argumentative. There's no idea.
All right. Please explain what a lack of scanner is.
I'm not an expert in Leica scanners. What I know is that it's a piece of equipment that's utilized to image and scan crime scenes.
Do you know how many scans did you or anybody else take of the crime scene with that lack of scanner, sir?
I did not do them. Matthew Daniel and Daniel Edwards, I believe, are the ones that actually did the scan. I believe they took 3 separate scans.
You stated in your report that Jim Schultz said there were 2 bullet holes in the front driver's side corner up on the rowel of Officer Christian car. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
You also stated that Schultz advised you that the window glass fell on the ground after he closed the door. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, sir. I thought you stated to the jury that Jim Schultz checked Officer Christian, shut the door and the glass fell out, and he wanted to retrieve a blanket. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I was told.
Okay, so you were told that he shut the door and the glass fell out, and then he wanted to retrieve the blanket. Is that correct, sir?
The sheet, yes.
The sheet, sorry, the sheet.
Yes, sir.
So, is it standard protocol to alter a crime scene?
Alter.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I didn't finish my sentence. Is it standard protocol to alter the crime scene in the manner that Mr. Schultz did?
I don't know whose protocol you're referring to.
Okay, I go back. In your field of work, your expertise, you're a specialist, right? Crime scene specialist for the GBI, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is it standard, is it your procedure, is it common practice to alter a crime scene in a manner?
To alter a crime scene in any manner, no, but please understand that anytime somebody walks up into a crime scene, anybody walks onto a crime scene, when medical attention is rendered, whether somebody is checked to see if they have a pulse or not, that's a form of altering the crime scene because you're stepping into it. Whether anything is done intentional or deliberate to alter that, to throw anybody off, that might be a different story. I don't believe that's what happened.
Okay. Was you there when Officer Schultz shut that door and knocked that one out that glass?
No, I was not.
Well, how can you state what you believe will happen? Do you see?
He was responding to defendant's questions.
Okay, I understand. I roll on. I'm gonna
Another
hold the
question.
Another question.
All right.
Okay. Now, shattered the glass. And I'm asking him from his profession, why?
I'll allow him to answer the question if he knows.
Yeah, that's what I'm just asking. I'm just trying to find out. Just want to get for the truth, find out.
Can you answer the question, ask the question again, sir?
I asked you, why did Mr. Schultz open that door and knock that glass out of the door of Officer Christian car? Why did he do that?
I believe he opened the door to check to see if Officer Christian had a pulse and see if he could save his life.
I'm talking about when he shut the door, shattered that glass, knocked it on the ground. Why did he do that?
I do not know the answer to that.
You know, but you do know that if you knock that glass out the woman, that changed that crime scene. The glass went out. I'm sorry, let me get it right. Before he opened that door and shut and knocked the glass out, that glass was in that car, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, how do you know he shot the glass? You don't know it, did you?
I don't understand your question, sir.
Okay. You just said in your report that he shut the door and shattered the glass and it fell out. Correct.
He told me that, yes.
Okay. Now, common sense. That woman was still in that door before we shut the door, shattered the glass. Isn't that correct?
That's what he said, yes.
Okay then. Now, when you agree, if he hadn't shattered that glass, that would have told you exactly where I was standing at when that gun was fired. When you agree with that, sir?
Absolutely not.
Well, what give us your perception on that then?
My perception
Yes, sir.
of what the glass would have told me,
Yeah, what if the bullet holes in the glass, if you hadn't shattered it? I was looking at you testify when the front part was gone, you said, so you put your strings up. You know the strings you put up there?
Yes, sir.
To determine the trajectory?
no, that was the area of convergence.
Okay, the area of convergence. Now, if that glass hadn't been shattered, that would have told you the straight area of convergence of them gunshot, wouldn't it?
Yes, but the area of the convergence where the holes were, but it would have absolutely have no relevance whatsoever as far as the trajectory or angle of impact that the bullet struck the window and then Officer Christian. Remember what I said, if you have a thin piece of glass and you stick a rod through it, it can be coming from any single direction. You need two at least thicker holes to start lining up in order to do any type of relevant trajectory.
Sir, but how about this? The angle. With them two bullet holes in that glass, you could have told the angle I was when I'm shot fire. Isn't that correct? That would have gave you a straight visual or understanding of what he was standing at when I'm shot fire. Isn't that correct?
No, because you have holes. I mean, if you have a hole, I mean, depending on the measurements of the hole, you might be able to say if it was coming from the left, from the right, up, down, from measuring the hole. But as far as an angle of impact from a piece of glass, I don't think that's possible.
I didn't say a piece of glass. I'm talking about the holes that they wore in the woman.
That's what I'm referring to.
Okay, just say if the hole was 2 inches apart, 6 inches apart. Was it high or was it low? Now, one of them holes would have showed you exactly where them bullets entered that glass at. Isn't that correct?
Well, yeah, if you have bullets going through glass and there are holes there, that's going to show you in the glass where the bullets went.
Exactly. That's what I want you to say. We want to have to have a
Objective commentary.
Correct.
Right. I appreciate you answering that. Now, by Mr. Schultz knocking that glass out, you can't tell when them bullets entered that glass at, can't you?
Entered the glass? No, I can't. Obviously, the wounds to Officer Christian, you can tell where they entered him,
Okay.
not the glass.
Okay. But that glass would have been here for evidence and determine exactly where them shot entered that window. Isn't that correct?
Where it entered the window, to me as an investigator, as a crime scene specialist, makes a difference where they enter the window. It's where they enter the person. I want to know who's on the other side of that glass with a gun. Doesn't matter to me how far away the bullets are in the glass or anything like that. You're going to be able to get your angles and your trajectory from the wounds to the officer, not from the glass of the front driver's side window.
But the window would have told you why. It would have told you the position where I was with it. It would have showed you the point of contact, that bullet to that window. That bullet had to hit that window before it hit Officer Christian. Isn't that correct?
Yes, the window would have been up, and you saw the wounds to the side of Officer Christian's
precisely the way it was, isn't that right?
I don't believe that's correct because the glass is very thin. If it was something thicker, then you can actually get a better angle, a better trajectory coming through. I believe that would be important than a thin piece of glass. Like I said, if you have a hole in a piece of glass and you put a rod through it, you can spin that rod all around to give you all kinds of different angles that bullet may have traveled through that thin piece of glass.
I'd like you to look at State Exhibit 329, please, sir. See this glass? That's the glass still in that one, right? After Mr. Schultz knocked the glass out, that's what you got left, isn't that right?
That's correct. That's how it was on my rod.
Okay. Now, before he shattered that glass, we would have had a whole glass with 2 bullet holes in it. Ain't that correct?
That's what I was told, yes.
Okay, now we had a whole glass with them 2 bullet holes. Just for instance, if it was a bullet hole right here and a bullet hole right there, we would have been precise about it. We wouldn't have had to guess and make no assumption. Would you agree with that, sir?
I'm not really having to guess or make any assumptions.
Okay.
The bullets were from the outside. They traveled in through officer and into Officer Pritchard. The specific angles that they entered him, I believe you'll get that information from the autopsy.
Okay. I want you to look right here at State Exhibit 413, sir. You see right here where you put them white strings in on that car?
Yes, sir, I do.
If that one that had been knocked out that car, you wouldn't have had to use them white strings, would you?
Actually, there's a chance we still would have because you're still going to have the radiating fractures. And just taking a photograph, you're not going to be able to see the finite details in the radial fractures. So there's a good chance we would have still used the string kind of to show the area of convergence.
But that one would have been more precise than that white string, isn't that correct? Been a little bit more precise about that?
If the holes were still in the glass, then you would be able to see the holes still in the glass.
I would like for you to look right here again at Exhibit 329, sir. Now, when you agree that this one is shattered out from the front, this area right here, the front area, right here gone.
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
Okay.
The front part is missing.
Okay, if that one is shattered from the back side, is it shattered? We still got some from the back in here.
I believe it's shattered, but I believe it's still intact.
Yeah, it's still intact from the back side, isn't it?
Yes.
So, do you see in the bullet hole coming from the back side of this, from the back side?
No, I do not.
So ain't no bullet hole coming from the back side of it?
No.
Okay, but this one is gone, that'd be more consistent with that bullet coming in from the front side, that angle like this when you think. You see that? Look at that. When you agree with that? Look right here. When you agree with that?
If you recall the area of convergence, what he's highlighting would have been in that general area. Obviously, the 2 bullet holes in the glass, they're no longer there because that glass is now missing. So that would tell me that they were in the area. The 2 bullet holes were located in the area where the glass is no longer intact.
So you would agree that,
They were in the area. The 2 bullet holes were located in the area where the glass is no longer intact.
so you would agree that the bullet hole might have been somewhere in this front area, right? Right in here. Could we say that? Did the fact say that somewhere in here? Somewhere, because we don't know because he knocked that one out, right?
I believe that would be fairly accurate, yes.
Okay, could you put your little layers on it and tell us where you think that bullet entered that one there from your investigation?
I can't. What I can show you again would be the area of convergence. Like I said, the strings. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's an approximate measurement, and basically it is where all the 4 of them intersect at one point. One's on the left, one's on the top, one's on the bottom, one's on the right. That's giving you a general area, an approximate area of convergence.
Could you give us your approximate area? Could you just show us your approximate? Could you show us, please?
Well, when we measured it, I think it was approximately 4 feet from the ground. It was 4 feet from the ground and approximately 1 feet 7.5 inches from the back of the front driver's side door. So if this area here, if that were 4 feet to the ground and 1 point or that's where the approximate area of convergence would be.
Okay, could you just hold your little light on there on the area, the general area you said 4 feet? Okay. Then could you just stop it? Just stop it. Now,
He basically, he's basically providing basically the general area about that, but stopping that isn't necessarily, indicating that.
this is my cross, I'm gonna ask some questions, this is my cross, I'll ask.
Ask another question.
Okay. Now, now, is it fair to say, off your investigation and your work, will that be consistent with me standing in the kind of on the front side of that car? Or would it be consistent when I'm coming from behind? Is that shot coming from the front side or coming from the back side?
Can't really say. Seeing the wounds on Officer Christopher, I believe you're coming from the front side of the vehicle.
Okay. I miss you. You said let's talk about the one before we get off of Christian. Let's focus on the one. You said 4 feet up, right?
That was the approximate area of convergence
Okay,
at the
that's
time.
you call it convergence. That means the contact between that bullet and that woman, right? That's what you call it convergence, sir?
No, sir. Where all the radial fractures would have crossed, where all the strings would have crossed, that would have been the approximate area where the two holes were probably located.
Okay. Now, from where the hole was probably located at, off your investigation, when you agree that I was standing there on the front side of that car?
I can't say for certain, but I believe you're coming from the front side of that car.
So one coming from the back from what you saw off your investigation was?
No, because no.
Thank you. I'd like you to look at State's Exhibit 453, please, sir. I'd like you to look right here. I know you stated that bullet went in that seat.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, could you explain to the jury, how did that bullet get in that seat at that specific spot? Right.
I don't understand your question, sir.
The trajectory, is the path of that bullet? That what trajectory mean, the path of that bullet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, what would have been the trajectory for that bullet to enter that seat, right on the seat back? How did that happen? Talking trajectory.
It entered and exited Officer Christian's body. That's going to alter the trajectory once it enters and then exits. The projectile's going to do different things. As it comes out, that's where it ended up.
Okay. Did you do an autopsy on Mr. Christian's body, sir?
I'm not a doctor, no, I did not.
Okay, well, how do you know where the bullet exited Officer Christian at then?
I do not know.
Well, why you telling them something, you giving them an explanation on something you don't know, why you doing that?
No, it's argumentative, with answering the defendant's question.
Same objection.
What my thing is, and I please be heard. He testified what happened. He talking about he don't know what come out. How can you testify to something that you don't know? That's why I'm asking you a question, because I'm writing down what they say, and they testifying to something that they're not sure of, and that may lead the jury.
Understand your response, I sustain the objection.
Okay. Now, so you don't know how that bullet got in this particular spot that was shutting the jury?
I believe it entered Officer Christian's body, exited Officer Christian's body, and went into the side of that seat.
I'd like you to look at this State Exhibit 499, please. You call that pink thing right here? Don't you call that a trajectory rod?
Yes, sir.
Now, what purpose of that rod, sir?
To show the trajectory of the projectile.
Meaning the path that the bullet traveled, isn't that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Sir, did you put a trajectory rod in State 450-53? Did you use a trajectory rod right here in the back of the seat?
No, I did not.
Why? Why not?
Yeah, I'd like place, where things were able to line up. Whereas this, all there was an actual, the seat, because Officer Christian's body was removed, and so all you had was one hole. There was nothing else to line up. It was just a hole into a styrofoam or a foam seat back.
I'll make some. But you could stuff that trajectory rod right there, and it would have told you exactly what path that bullet was traveling.
No,
How could you say that when you didn't try?
because there were no other holes to place the trajectory rod to or objects against that it would line up. It's just one place right here. So if you were to stick a rod in, like I said, didn't have to dig very far to get the projectile. It was just on the other side of that foam. So there was nothing substantial enough to stick the actual trajectory rod into to give you an accurate reading or accurate angle of impact from the trajectory of the projectile. If there would have been another entry and exit hole there, then yes, it could have been lined up. But if you just have one endpoint and it's not going through, it's not a through and through, it's just an entrance into that side of the seatbelt. Does that make sense?
So are you telling us, how do you know that you couldn't have stuck that in there in the whole place? That's a seat. You can stick that in there. Let me go back to your picture. Right here. You see right here, I noticed you just stated through and through. This bullet didn't go through and through right here. It didn't go through that B pillar. Ain't that seat? And that right there got something in common. Both of them got one hole and it got an entrance right there.
The plastic of the plastic part of that B pillar. So and it went through it, right? So you're able to stick it through that hole, and then it lined up with the ticket book. Whereas you have the ticket book there, which lines up so you can show the actual trajectory. In the other photograph from Officer Christian's car, there's nothing there to line the hole up. Like I said, that projectile was just on the other side of that, where we cut out that little area of the side of the seat back. It was just on the other side of that. So it wasn't like it just traveled through the entire seat. The hole, if it entered, if it would have come out the back of the seat, anything like that, then yes, you would have been able to get an accurate trajectory, an accurate angle of the projectile as it hit the seat. But because it did not exit, it was just there on the other side of it. There's no way to give you an accurate trajectory.
You cut that out of there, right?
Yes, I did.
That foam, right?
Yes.
You couldn't have stuck that trajectory rod right there in that foam and it would have hold up it right where the hole was.
Sure, I could have, but that would not have been accurate. The only holes I can stick in, or I ever would stick a trajectory rod through, are holes that were made by the projectile. I would never go sticking a trajectory rod into something that a hole was not made by that projectile. I mean, I would be creating that evidence, then it would not be accurate. I would never do something like that.
I'd like you to look right here. There's State Exhibit 453. When you read that hole right there was made by a projectile, sir, right here. A projectile made a hole in it.
Yes, it did.
But why you didn't stick that trajectory rod in?
That's been asked and answered in the
Same.
question before about the
But the purpose of that trajectory rod is tell us where the path that bullet is. Ain't that right?
That's why I utilized it in Officer Howard's car, yes, because it could tell us some
But
trajectory.
that trajectory rod would have helped us in Officer Christian's car also. Ain't that right?
No. spokesperson, yes.
Now, you hear radio traffic with them radios, isn't that correct?
Yes, that's what they're for, yes.
Okay. But he did have one on the neck, correct, sir?
Yes.
I want you to look at states. Is it too far to say, sir? Wait, I'm taking out zoom in. I get it. See right there in the apartment right there, right here, what is right? You investigate to see what that was?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because I did not.
But there could be a camera. You see how it pointing right here? Looking right there at Sycamore Drive. Will you agree with that? If it is a camera right there at that road, you can see everything?
I can't testify to what that is.
But it's possible it could be a camera. Sorry, right here. Pointing right there at Sycamore Drive. Right there.
It could possibly be
Right there on the same
a bunch of
apartment.
other things. I do not know that.
Right there on the same apartment. You was walking right past. You and several ladies, isn't that right?
What's the question, sir?
My question is, you was right there on Sycamore Drive at these same apartments.
Yes.
Okay. Did you go talk to the people who own that apartment to see if there was a camera sitting right there?
No, I did not go talk to people at the apartment.
Okay. I thought you testified that you looked for cameras and everything else.
I did. I did not say that was a camera. I do not know that to be a camera.
Didn't bother to investigate either, did you? Didn't bother to investigate to see if it was a camera either, did you?
He previously answered the question about.
But not just looking, I'm talking about this and this.
Let him finish his
Okay.
objection. Yes.
He really was responded earlier to questions about the cameras and what he did and what he saw, what he did not see.
Judge, that's why I answered him in the manner I did. See, I already know I got this thing. So I asked him to see what he gonna tell the truth first, and then I show it to him. I'm giving him a chance to be honest. So if he don't answer, I didn't say that about this question. I couldn't ask him this question because I didn't show him this.
That's fine.
That's fine. I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Okay.
It's been asked and answered.
Yes, sir. But you don't know if there's a camera or not, right? For the record.
No, I do not know that to be a camera.
But it could have been, couldn't it?
It could have been many of things.
Such as a camera.
That's speculation, Judge.
Sustain.
Yeah, Judge, I wanna. Mr. Rose, I'd like for you to. I'd like for you to look at what you said, these slide 3 and 4.
Yes, sir.
Them shell cases, is this true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how did them shell cases get that close to their car?
I do not know the answer to that.
I thought you said you was professional.
That's argumentative and I will object.
Sustain.
Okay. When them shell cases indicate that I was real close to that car, I was far away from it.
So I cannot, all I can testify to and what I saw was where the shell casings were upon my arrival. I believe there have been studies done trying to show where somebody was standing when the shell casing is ejected from a firearm. There's no rhyme or reason as to where it's going to go. More than likely, in a semi-automatic gun, it's going to eject back into the right. But once it hits the ground, you've got wind, and once it hits, you don't know which way it's going to bounce. I don't believe there's a way to say for sure where somebody is standing or not standing from where a shell casing where the shell casings were upon my arrival and investigation of the scene.
Okay. Now, isn't it true if I'd have been 5 or 10 yards off shooting a long way from their car, them shell casings wouldn't have been close to their car? Isn't that correct?
Like I said, I cannot determine where somebody was or was not standing based on shell casings.
But you would agree that if, you carry a gun, you go to the firing range. So you go to the firing range.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you done shot a gun plenty of time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just say if I'm right here, find the gun over to that window over there. Would the shell casing jump way over there, that window, if I find that gun here, would it go back that way?
You have to take into account wind. You have to take into account exactly what happens to them once they hit the ground. If there's no wind or anything like that, I'm standing still. More than likely, they're going to go back into the right to start. What happens to them after they hit the ground, which direction they bounce, what happens to it after that, I cannot testify to that. I do not know the answer to that.
Okay. When you agree it would be difficult to get the shell casing that close to their car if I was not close to it. Will you agree with that?
So, I don't really know how to answer that question, sir. I don't know. I can't testify to where he was or was not standing. Would it be difficult? I don't know if it would be difficult. I'm not really sure how to answer that question because I can't testify to what shell casings are going to do after they are ejected from a firearm.
When you were testifying was on that computer screen, why can't you testify when a bullet shell casing hit it?
That's argumentative.
Did you know you were going to testify today?
Yes.
Did you come prepared today?
Yes.
How long you been in law enforcement?
It's going on 18 years, sir.
18 years. And you couldn't give us no doubt. You couldn't give us no explanation why them bullet shell casings so close to that car. That's what you telling us.
With no scientific certainty, I can't. I can't tell you exactly where he was standing when the gun was fired based upon the shell casings, the location of the shell casings upon my arrival. I said, more than likely they would eject back into the right, but I can't swear to that. I was not there. Once they hit the ground, I cannot say what direction that they would travel once they hit the ground and bounce around.
Well, why did you tell them that this bullet was 4 feet off the ground? You could tell that. Then you tell them that this bullet was 4, then you say 4 feet off the ground. Why can you tell them that? You can't tell them that about these bullet shell casings.
I hope that I've explained that to you. The 4 feet off the ground is going to be the area of convergence with the strings and all that kind of stuff. That is based on the string that I was able to place, based on evidence that I was able to see there at the window. Those casings were located in that location upon my arrival. I can't tell you how they got there or what happened to them once they hit the ground and how they bounced around. I can't tell you where the person was standing when the shots were fired based upon the shell casings on the ground next to your vehicle.
Okay. Could you tell us the exact position Officer Christian was during that shooting incident? Could you tell us exactly what happened? Could you tell us that?
No, I was not there.
Okay. You said Officer Christian was shot twice. 2 bullets was in that car, right?
No, sir. I believe one was in him and one was in the car.
Okay. So you telling that right now, Officer Christian did get shot twice. Is that what you telling us?
I'm sorry?
Did Officer Christian have 2 gunshot wounds? You showed us a picture up here, and you showed us 2 gunshot wounds. Did he have 2 gunshot wounds on his body, sir?
Yes, he did.
Okay. How many bullet holes was in that car? 1 or 2?
Bullet holes in the car?
Yeah, in the seat. Was it another bullet hole anywhere else in the car?
I believe the other bullet was in Officer Christian.
Okay.
The other one entered him, exited through his body, and then into the seat.
Okay, so it's safe to say it wasn't no more projectiles in that car other than the one in that seat back. Is it safe to say that?
Yes, that is the only projectile that I located in that vehicle.
Okay, did you receive the gun that I had that day? Did you look at that gun, examine that gun, anything?
No, I did not.
Okay. Let me take you back a little bit. You was involved in this case about the Cadillac and Chevy 3-2 with me.
I was at this scene the entire time. I knew there was other activities, but I did not do any investigative work on any of that.
So you didn't take no,
I did not lift any prints. I did not process the Cadillac or anything like that. I may have transported evidence, but I never processed anything to do with the Cadillac.
Okay, is it possible that you had so much going on and you forgot? Like, I know it hard on you. Is it possible that you took it in print and you just forgot?
Taking prints from the Cadillac?
You took prints to him from the Cadillac, and you had Jamie Hood name on it. Let's see if the fingerprints match up this Cadillac Jamie Hood.
Like I said, I might have transported latent fingerprint cards that another agent developed and secured as evidence. I may have transported those to the police department to be compared. I may have done that. But as far as dusting with fingerprint powder, a Cadillac vehicle, no.
Okay. Did you take him any fingerprints concerning to the John Brook Cadillac? I mean, Chevy Caprice.
I may have.
Did y'all find any fingerprints of suspect allegedly driving this John Brook car, involved in carjacking Chevy Caprice? Did y'all find any fingerprints on that car that you can make any arrest with, sir?
I did not process John Brooks' vehicle or the Cadillac. I was located at this scene that entire day.
Did you know if anybody found any fingerprints on this car that would have led to arrest?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay, did y'all do any gunpowder residue? What the test is? You test to see what the gunpowder is? What the name of that test? Could you tell me the name of that test when you performed to see how close they was and gunpowder on them? What you call it?
On a gunshot residue?
Yes, sir. Could you explain that procedure? How you come up with gunshot residue on somebody's clothing?
It's a kit that comes from, you can order them in the crime lab, a kit that comes with different articles to use to collect. Majority of the times when they're used, you do them on people's hands to see if there are any particles from a fired weapon on the hands. Little, almost looks like a little tube, kind of has a little sticky adhesive into it. You kind of do that, and then you take swabs.
Would you agree gunpowder residue would tell you how close somebody was with a gun on somebody?
I don't know that it can tell you how close they were. It all depends on the circumstances because they're very minute particles. They fly around depending on the wind, depending on the air, anything like that. So I don't know if there's any scientific way to say gunshot residue can determine somebody was this close or this far away from a weapon when it was fired.
Isn't it true that the closer you up on somebody or object, it'll be more gunpowder get on you? Isn't that true?
I would believe that to be true.
Okay.
You have a better opportunity to have more gunpowder on you.
Okay. Did you get any gunpowder room? Did you get any gunpowder out Tony Howard police van? Did y'all check it to see if there was any gunpowder on that to determine how close I was when the gunshot went off?
Understand, he was removed from the scene. By the time I got there, he was receiving medical treatment. And I'm not an expert on gunshot residue, but I don't believe that it would be going through clothes. It would be on the top layer that was saturated with blood.
Now, there would have been important evidence to show how close I was with that gun when I shot him because gunpowder would have been on me.
Like I said, he was already transported to the scene. They were cutting articles off of his clothing to save his life. I do not know anything other than that, sir.
Did they transport his vest with him to the hospital, or did you do the work on it?
I understand the vest was there at the crime scene. That was up under his uniform.
How about his shirt? You said you cut the shirt off, and y'all got that shirt in the evidence. I saw the picture.
Sure, I did not cut the shirt off from him. I believe that was taken from his uniform shirt. I believe that was taken from him at the hospital.
But you did a property receipt on his clothes. I saw it. And you had access to that top shirt. Isn't that right?
I don't know who collected that shirt from the hospital. It was not me.
But you did a property receipt on it, didn't you?
I don't know if I did the property receipt on the contents that were collected, or if it would have been the agent or the officer that collected the contents from the hospital.
I thought you told the jury a while ago, you pointed out, well, this is Officer Howard's shirt, the police shirt. photographed that shirt, did it ever dawn on you, hey, maybe I need to do a ballistic test on this shirt to see if it got gunpowder residue on it? Did it ever dawn on you to do that before you photographed it?
I knew he was shot. There was blood saturating the shirt, and that had been, that shirt was on him when he went to the hospital. So there was a lot of movement there and everything. I didn't feel it was necessary. I knew that he was shot. A lot of times gunshot residue is used to determine if somebody was not shot or if they deny shooting a weapon. I knew that he was shot. More than likely, there would be gunshot residue on him if he was close enough. But like I said, that doesn't prove or disprove how far away a person was, because you have the weather and other related items to deal with as far as the particles, the minute particles coming from a gunshot.
Are you an expert in ballistics, sir?
No, I am not.
Well, how did you tell the jury how far you supposed to be away you came? You know, expert in that field. How did you do that?
I said that
I would object. He responded to the defendant's question, best he could, and then the defendant asked him how it is he's able to respond to his question. So I would object to that, I guess,
Well, I would have. Okay, but I'd be heard on the issue, please, sir, on the objection, at least that, for the record. Okay. My thing